Hello, my name is Dr. James Park, an internal medicine specialist who has been caring for seniors for over 50 years. I'm now 87 years old, but I still show up at my clinic every day to meet with my patients. Over the decades, I've come to realize one important truth. Good health isn't about grand gestures or expensive treatments. It's about the small, everyday habits we often overlook. And as we get older, even a tiny habit can mean the difference between life and death. Just last month, something truly heartbreaking happened. 3 seniors from our local neighborhood, people I greeted every morning at the park, were suddenly rushed to the hospital within just a few days. They all seemed healthy with no major medical issues. But they had one thing in common, a harmful habit they repeated after meals. Sadly, one of them never regained consciousness. That moment deeply shook me. In my long career, I've seen countless illnesses, but this reminded me how one small action in our daily life can lead to sudden and tragic consequences. What makes it even more painful is that it all could have been avoided, if only they had known some basic but vital information. That's why I feel it's my duty to share this with you today. What you do in the 30 minutes after a meal can drastically impact the next 10 or 20 years of your life. Please watch this video to the very end. And more importantly, share this message with the seniors around you, especially those who live alone. In an emergency, immediate help may not be available, and that can make all the difference. That night, I couldn't sleep. The thought kept haunting me, if only I had shared this earlier. It became clear to me that the knowledge and experience I've built up over 50 years as a doctor shouldn't be kept within the walls of my clinic. That's why I decided to record this message. Because what you do in the short window of time after a meal, just 30 minutes, can determine the course of your health. Those 30 minutes could mean the difference between lying in a hospital bed or enjoying your time on a park bench. So let me explain it clearly. One of my patients, Mrs. Elizabeth Johnson, is 79 years old and has always lived a healthy life. She's very mindful of her diet and never skips her daily walks. But one day, she was rushed into the emergency room with sudden chest pain and dizziness. Naturally, we suspected a heart problem. But after running detailed tests, we found that her heart was in good condition. The real issue? Stomach acid. She had laid down right after a meal, and acid reflux had irritated the nerves near her heart. It looked like a heart attack, but the root cause was simply the posture she took after eating. After recovering, she looked at me and said, "Doctor, I've always eaten healthy and exercised. How did this happen to me?" And I told her, sometimes what you do after you eat is even more important than what you eat. Many people focus on nutrients, calories, and superfoods, which are all important, but they overlook the impact of post-meal habits. The reason is simple. After a meal, your body enters a unique physiological state. About 25% of your total blood flow is redirected to your digestive system. That means there's less blood flowing to critical organs like your heart and brain. And those organs must maintain stable blood flow to function properly. When we make the wrong moves during this time, these vital organs can be placed in sudden and serious danger. That's why I always say, the 30 minutes after a meal are more powerful than any medicine. This one simple truth has led many seniors to change their routines, and the results have been remarkable. Let me now share 3 things you should never do after a meal. First, don't jump up to wash dishes or clean immediately after eating. This is something many people do without a second thought. In fact, it's especially common among older women who've lived their whole lives being diligent and responsible. I've often heard phrases like, "If you eat, you should clean up right away." "I need to move so I don't gain weight." But unfortunately, this is a dangerous myth that can actually harm your health. Right after a meal, a large portion of your blood flows to the stomach to support digestion. If you suddenly start using your arms and legs for chores, that blood gets diverted, and your stomach can't do its job properly. The result? Poor digestion, chest discomfort, dizziness, and in more serious cases, even fainting. Let me share the story of Mrs. Margaret Kim, who lives in Portland. She had a lifelong habit of cleaning up the kitchen immediately after meals. One afternoon, after lunch, she picked up a heavy water container to move it, and suddenly felt dizzy. She fell and badly injured her knee. At the hospital, Doctors said that if she hadn't fallen, her knees could have lasted another 10 years. This was an accident that could have been completely avoided if she had just rested for 30 minutes after eating. And she's not alone. There are countless similar cases. One person threw out their back lifting laundry right after a meal. Another slipped and broke a bone while cleaning the bathroom. All for the same reason. So from now on, think of it this way. The 30 minutes after a meal are your body's recovery time. You see, delaying the dishes for a little while won't hurt a thing. But once a joint or your lower back is injured, it's hard to ever get back to the way it used to be. Sitting down and relaxing after a meal, that is one of the most effective forms of health care. Now, let's talk about the second habit you should avoid. Lying down or reclining immediately after eating. I know how tempting it is to lie back on the couch and watch TV after a meal. Even I feel that urge more often as I get older. But behind that short-lived comfort lies a hidden danger. Your stomach is a vertically shaped organ. When you're sitting or standing, gravity helps guide food downward through your digestive system. But lying down disrupts that natural flow. Between your stomach and esophagus, there's a ring of muscle called a sphincter. It acts like a valve, keeping stomach acid from flowing backward. Unfortunately, this valve weakens with age. And when you lie down right after eating, it puts pressure on that valve, making it easier for stomach acid to rise up into the esophagus. The result? Acid reflux, heartburn, chronic coughing, and in severe cases, esophageal ulcers or even esophageal cancer. In fact, studies show that nearly 70% of patients with esophageal cancer had the habit of lying down immediately after meals. Let me tell you about Mr. David Lee, who lives in Sacramento. For over 10 years, he had a routine. After dinner, he would lie on the couch and watch TV. At first, it was just mild indigestion. But over time, his symptoms worsened. He began experiencing burning chest pain at night and couldn't sleep properly. Eventually, he became so dependent on antacids that he could no longer get through the day without them. Fortunately, once Mr. Lee began practicing the simple habit of sitting upright after meals, his symptoms improved dramatically. Now, he lives comfortably, without relying on medication. He told me, "I can't believe something so simple made such a difference. Why didn't anyone tell me this before?" So here's what I want you to remember. Even if lying down feels relaxing, inside your body, damage may be quietly taking place. The best posture after a meal is to sit upright. Keep your back straight and lean forward slightly. This position helps your stomach function at its best. It supports digestion, prevents acid reflux, and keeps your digestive system working naturally. Now, let's talk about the third mistake many people make after eating. Taking medication immediately after a meal. You might be thinking, isn't that what we're supposed to do? Well, yes and no. It's true that some medications should be taken after eating to avoid stomach irritation. But after eating does not mean right away. Many people finish their meal, grab a glass of water, and swallow their pills within seconds, but that's not ideal. In fact, the safest time to take most medications is about 30 minutes after eating. Because right after a meal, your stomach is still full of food, which can interfere with the absorption of the medication. Plus, changes in stomach acidity during digestion may reduce the drug's effectiveness. This becomes even more critical with medications that affect blood circulation, such as blood pressure pills, heart medications, or diabetes drugs. Taking them too soon after eating can lead to unpredictable effects, and in some cases, even serious complications. Taking certain medications during the period when blood is being directed to your digestive system can be risky. It may cause your blood pressure to drop suddenly, leading to dizziness, nausea, or in severe cases, even fainting. According to a study conducted at a local hospital, nearly 15% of falls among seniors over the age of 70 were linked to taking medication immediately after a meal. Let me share the story of Mr. Thomas Park, a longtime resident of Seattle, who had been taking blood pressure medication for years. One day, just like always, he took his pills right after lunch and suddenly collapsed. He had to undergo treatment for more than a month. His family later said, "If only we had waited 30 minutes after the meal, none of this would have happened." That's exactly right. When a prescription says, take 30 minutes after meals, it's not just a suggestion, it's a critical safety instruction. If you're taking multiple medications, be sure to ask your doctor or pharmacist about the proper timing for each one. Every medication has different absorption rates and mechanisms, and timing can make all the difference. Now that we've talked about what not to do, let me share 2 simple habits you should adopt after meals to support your digestive health. First, drink a glass of warm water about 10 minutes after eating. Avoid cold water, as it can shock your stomach and trigger excessive acid production. Instead, warm or room temperature water helps relax your digestive system and supports the natural release of digestive enzymes. Let me tell you about Mr. Charles Park, who lives in Austin, Texas. He struggled with acid reflux for over 45 years. But by adopting this one simple habit, drinking warm water after meals, he was able to stop taking medication altogether. It's a small change, but incredibly effective. Instead of gulping it all down at once, it's best to sip the water slowly, a little at a time. Second, take a slow walk about 30 minutes after your meal. The key word here is slow. Walking to the point of breathlessness can actually put strain on your body. A light stroll, at a comfortable pace, for about 15 minutes is ideal. Walking isn't just a basic form of exercise. It helps regulate blood sugar, aids digestion, and calms your mood. Let me share the story of Mr. William Chung, who lives in San Diego. By simply adopting this habit, he was able to cut his diabetes medication in half, lose over 11 pounds, and, most importantly, sleep peacefully through the night. He told me, "These days, if I don't go for a walk after eating, I feel like something's missing." If possible, walk outdoors. The sunlight, fresh air, and gentle breeze bring positive energy to both body and mind. But if it's too hot or cold, even a gentle walk around the house can do wonders. Let me quickly summarize what we've learned today. Crossmark 3 things you should never do right after a meal. Cleaning or doing chores. Lying down or reclining. Taking medications immediately. White heavy checkmark 2 things you should do after eating. Drink a glass of warm water about 10 minutes after the meal. Take a light walk about 30 minutes after the meal. If you can just remember these 5 simple habits, they can make a huge difference in your overall health. A healthy life in old age doesn't come from big plans or expensive supplements. It starts with small, daily habits. It's the small things we do each day, the little habits in our daily life, that build true, lasting health. Everything I've shared with you in today's video comes from real experiences. They're based on decades of working with thousands of patients, witnessing what truly makes a difference in people's lives. According to a study by a major university hospital in Los Angeles, seniors over the age of 65 who consistently followed a 30-minute post-meal care routine had a 47% lower incidence of digestive issues compared to those who didn't. This isn't just a statistic, it's living proof that lives can change when we take small, consistent steps. If you found this video helpful, please share it with the seniors around you. Especially with those who may live alone or who are struggling with their health. This could make a real difference. So far, we've talked about the things you should never do after a meal and the 2 habits you should build. Now, let's talk about something even more important. How to actually put this into practice. Because no matter how valuable information may be, if it stays in your head and never becomes action, it's just another forgotten quote. I often hear people say, "I know it's good for me, but I just forget to do it. I mean to walk after meals, but I end up sitting on the couch." That's why I want to share a simple, practical routine I've developed over decades with my patients, something that anyone can do with just a piece of paper and a calendar. Start by creating your own post-meal 30-minute health routine chart. Right after finishing a meal, take note of the time. Then, mark the 30-minute window and write down what you plan to do during that time, like sipping warm water or going for a light walk. By repeating this routine every day, your brain begins to internalize it as a habit, and before long, it becomes second nature. It's the small things we do each day, the little habits in our daily life, that build true, lasting health. Everything I've shared with you in today's video comes from real experiences. They're based on decades of working with thousands of patients, witnessing what truly makes a difference in people's lives. According to a study by a major university hospital in Los Angeles, seniors over the age of 65 who consistently followed a 30-minute post-meal care routine had a 47% lower incidence of digestive issues compared to those who didn't. This isn't just a statistic, it's living proof that lives can change when we take small, consistent steps. If you found this video helpful, please share it with the seniors around you. Especially with those who may live alone or who are struggling with their health. This could make a real difference. So far, we've talked about the things you should never do after a meal and the 2 habits you should build. Now, let's talk about something even more important. How to actually put this into practice. Because no matter how valuable information may be, if it stays in your head and never becomes action, it's just another forgotten quote. I often hear people say, "I know it's good for me, but I just forget to do it. I mean to walk after meals, but I end up sitting on the couch." That's why I want to share a simple, practical routine I've developed over decades with my patients, something that anyone can do with just a piece of paper and a calendar. Start by creating your own post-meal 30-minute health routine chart. Right after finishing a meal, take note of the time. Then, mark the 30-minute window and write down what you plan to do during that time, like sipping warm water or going for a light walk. By repeating this routine every day, your brain begins to internalize it as a habit, and before long, it becomes second nature. True health is only complete when both the body and the mind are cared for together. One of the most common pieces of advice I give my patients is this. Just change one thing. Trying to change everything at once can feel overwhelming and stressful. Instead, start with the easiest habit. For example, today, try this. Don't lie down right after eating. Just keep that one promise to yourself. Once that becomes second nature, move on to the next habit. Drink a glass of warm water. Then later, take a slow walk 30 minutes after your meal. Even if you change just one habit each month, by the end of a year, you'll have built 12 new healthy habits. And when those small wins start to add up, something beautiful happens. You gain confidence. You feel your body respond, your digestion improves, your sleep becomes deeper, and you may even reduce your need for medications. And soon, the people around you will begin to notice too. "Dad, you look more relaxed lately. Grandma, your skin looks brighter." And hearing that, don't you feel more motivated? Because health is not about age. It's never too late to start. Even this very moment can be the beginning of something better. Some people tell me, "At my age, how can I change anything?" And I always say, start now and tomorrow will already be different. The best day to change your health is today. So after your lunch today, try sitting down and simply resting for 30 minutes. Turn off the TV for a moment. Look out the window. Let your thoughts settle. And most of all, just try one small habit starting today. That single step might be the one that protects your health and improves your quality of life in ways you never imagined. Healthy habits have nothing to do with age. If this video helped you feel even a little of that truth, then I'm already grateful. I hope what I shared today brings small but meaningful change to your daily life, and that your days ahead become healthier and more peaceful. If you found this video helpful, remember, wisdom for aging well is free. Please tap subscribe and like, and share this message with someone you love. Thank you for watching. Stay well and take good care of yourself.